Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Oh my goodness, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are in a very high vibrational quantum space today with my guest from Australia in the wee hours of the morning. Richard Whitehurst is a beautiful spiritual teacher, and he is going to share with us a mind-expanding episode today as we talk about moving into luminous futures. And this guest of Richard, he is a clinical hypnotherapist, a psychotherapist, a meditation teacher, a poet, and so much more. Richard, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for having me. It's always a joy, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, this is beautiful. You always help us to expand our perspective, and today we're going to be sharing something which will open our hearts to the earth and the planet that we live on. But let's first talk about the current energies with you. Let's get a bead from you on what your sense is of what's happening on Earth at this time. How's the energy for you?
All right. Well, look, I don't watch too much TV.
That's
but
good.
I am that's good. But I am aware of, I'm aware of the general background of what's going on in the world and the different conflicts and challenges. And this is the way I see it. It's just a little metaphor of, and I've used it before. There are many, but if you are making ghee, so those of you who don't know what that is, ghee is clarified butter. And the way it's made is you put butter into a pan, you put the pan on a very low heat, maybe jack it up with a few extra stovetop grills, and then leave it overnight. And then by the morning, you have almost predominantly a huge portion of this golden liquid, which is a frying medium, cooking medium. But you also have on the surface, you have all of this milk solids. They're kind of usually brown, and scoop those off, get rid of them. And right now, I believe we're in that sort of process. We're also, you could use another one, the birthing process of, when babies are being born, human or other mammals. It's pretty full on. It has a precariousness. It's in many ways, it's a life or death situation, pain and all kinds of things. And we're also in a birthing process right now. That's the way I see it. So the pain that we're feeling, the stuff that's rising up to the surface, what we are all becoming conscious of. So it's a very important time to be here. This is the what is, but it's a time of immense transition. I can feel it, and many of my friends and associates, and probably many of you, if not all of you, are feeling we're in the middle of something that's absolutely unprecedented. There's never been anything like what's going on right now. And so for me, it's a time of excitement, a little bit of apprehension, and I see this immense thing coming out of the future. This, what Teilhard de Chardin called the omega point, this explosion of love. So I think it was Terence McKenna who said we're sort of in the shadow of this thing right now that's coming out of the future. But it is not the Great Reset and all of that business. It's not that at all. It's far beyond. And it's really, I think for nearly all of us, it's beyond our capacity to imagine right now, just how immense this thing is that's coming out of the future. So that's a real brief sort of take on things. It is a time of living in process even more than perhaps we ever have, and not buying into the fear, but really minding our own personal resonance, our frequency, our vibration. Like, how can I avoid those things which bring me down, lower frequency, lower resonance, and do what is necessary to continuously raise our resonance. So that's a real short version of all of that. How about you, Lauren? What's your what's your take on, and what are your feelings right now? Because you're in this too in a really big way in terms of the work you do, people you speak to.
Yes. I think it's vital to stay in the heart. I even have a sticky note on my monitor here that says, keep your heart open and in charge. And that seems like such a simple statement, but I look down at it all the time. And I have another one over here. I am the divine presence, which is creating perfection throughout my whole life.
Yeah, beautiful.
So
Yes.
these little reminders on a constant basis is, I think, required as we move on the planet. As it gets more hectic out there, you know, whether it's looking at the news and seeing the collective reaction to what's going on, it can be startling. And so again, to stay in the heart is really key. And there's a video that we're going to show today that actually we're excited to share it with everyone, because if we have that perspective, the view of Earth from space, that reminds us all why we are here. We did all raise our hands to be here at this time. And so don't lose sight of the prize, which is Earth, new Earth, and the new way of being. And so as we shed the old paradigm and the old patterns and behaviors, it's really important not to judge ourselves too harshly. I can find that we can judge ourselves and others. And so what if there were no judgment anymore? What if we had no judgment? What if we didn't care?
Yeah. Hair prickles. That's beautiful. And that's one of those great questions that is the re-emergence of the divine feminine. And it's the word if. By using that word, we activate, awaken our imagination, and then we kind of start going into the frequency of just what it is. What if there was no more judgments? What if there was greater compassion, more and more manifest in the world, where we are all understanding the challenges of this human condition and the opportunities of this human condition to really move into higher and higher realities. So yeah, that's beautiful. The heart is hugely significant for me, as I've done some work with you, Lauren, on that. And yeah, living from the heart, through the heart, more heart-centered. And it's not to exclude other aspects of our physiology, i.e. the brain, but it is, as Jill Bolte Taylor said in her amazing TED Talk, 2008, Stroke of Insight, a little bit more in the right hemisphere, that sort of holistic thinking and everything. But the heart is the portal. It is the portal to just about everything. It's the portal to a variety of infinities. It's the domain of love in some of the great spiritual traditions. The heart is that place. And like Tibetan Buddhism, Rigpa, the pure open awareness, is in the heart. The yoga traditions, Ishwar, in the heart. So yeah, encourage everyone, and don't buy into that thing. It sounds so how to say, catchy. The longest journey I ever took was from my head to my heart, right? And yeah, we understand the basic idea of what's trying to be said there, but don't think that, well, it's really difficult tonight, right? And it says easy as just putting your hand to your heart, setting our intention to be in the heart, breathing gently, lovingly, compassionately into the heart, and little smile. Boom. You're right there. So it's simple. It's simple. It's natural. Children know these things. But we
and
forget.
when we play with our animals, it puts us in our hearts. And so children,
yeah,
we're just playing and having fun. Yes. Okay.
So little reminders like that are great, just to fill your world with these things. Keep reminding ourselves, coming back. The whole process in one sense is a great remembrance that, yeah, we knew as children. Wordsworth, in his great poem Ode, Intimation of Immortality, he talks about how we fade into the light of common day as we grow up, kind of get all the analytical things, get along in the world. And the world, up until now, the world has been pretty challenging with the idea of impact causation, make it work, just do it, hit it harder, stronger, right? And we're moving into a new, more of a presence of the divine feminine principle, which is that resonant principle, the being, not as much of the doing as more of the beingness. And that if question, using if in questions, plunks us right down into that, if we know how to do that, if we know the way of being in an if response.
Beautiful. So we're going to share some images, and they're really speaking points for the wisdom that you're going to bring forward today. It's quite wonderful. And we do have our Zoom audience with us, and we'd like to invite them to ask questions. If you'd like for Richard to assist you with anything that you're experiencing or moving through yourself, please let us know. Okay. Let's go to this question first from Bridget. For the last 3 years, myself and my family have been going through constant tower moments of collapse. And just as I clear it with acceptance and love and move forward, more collapse happens. I feel I'm really aware and live in compassion and forgiveness, but it's really difficult, especially when I have kids that I'm trying to provide stability for. Any help on how to navigate this with kids?
Yeah. Hey, Bridget, great question. I may not have any kind of final conclusive answer for you, but sometimes the collapsing is what needs to happen. And I'm not saying that it just keeps doing over and over and over again. But if there is a repetition that's occurring with that, then there is perhaps a category of that collapsing that needs to be taken in, absorbed, and we kind of like it didn't quite collapse enough, So there's kind of the principle of a letting go, perhaps a little further into the collapse. We might need a discussion about exactly what you're saying about this collapsing, but if there's something that repeats, that's usually one way to look at it is, okay, well, am I actually fully collapsing, or I'm taking it right to the brink and I'm about to fall up into the abyss? And I've had that many times with clients where they go, I'm standing at the edge of an abyss, it's black, and I say, just could you allow yourself to fall? Just fall right into it, right? It will not kill you, but it will deliver you often to just where you need to be. So also just that principle also, we are right where we need to be. So what is this collapse telling us? What's it telling us about whatever? Sometimes in the birthing process, and you're a mother. I'm not sure if you naturally gave childbirth to your children. Sometimes there's adoptions or there's other relationships, but sometimes we have to give up our control in the birthing process and let Mother Nature or the deeper awareness, let that run the system. And so seek a sort of greater understanding in the collapse. When have I, and then that's always in sort of the psychodynamics of things, when have I fell into collapse before? And very often, and I'm not saying this is true for you, but very often we have a foundational circumstance situation where we have been in a hugely collapsed state when we were young, lays the foundation, our so-called sacred wounds. And so we are called, if these sacred wounds are there, we're called to resolve deeper resolution, perhaps, as we move into the new world. And it's not a better old world. This is a whole new thing that's happening. And You know, Lauren, I shared in one of the talks, I shared this story about my old house in Virginia Beach. I live in Australia, but I've been here about 33 years now, but brought up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Had an old house, visited it back in the 90s with my family, and they were renovating. And then we went through it. It was a very teary moment because I had already been deep into process, living in process, and letting go of so much and addressing my old pain and my own personal collapsing in different ways of collapsing. Right? I had moments in my life where I can say, I would sometimes see someone in a wheelchair and think, oh man, that would just be, you know, and I'm not putting anyone down in wheelchairs. I'm just, this is my own perspective on things, but it was like, oh, if I was in a wheelchair, that would just be, I wouldn't have to do anything. Now, that's not true of people in wheelchairs, but it was just my own little imagination about it. The point is, I sought a deeper level of disempowerment from my point of view. So anyway, went to the old house. It was in a state of renovation, it painters and carpenters and all kinds of things. Went through the house, teary moments. It was really quite a process. And then we left the next day or later that day. We're flying out of Chicago back to Australia, and I wrote a poem about it. It was a really big let go. The whole thing was a huge let go. And then got a call a couple of days later from my mother, and she had been with talking to a friend who lived in that same neighborhood. My mother was elsewhere. She said, my friend Kitty, she came and told me that the house is gone. The poem ends, the old house has entered the mind of God is gone. And a couple of days later, that's exactly what had happened. The whole house was gone, right? Like someone took a giant razor and shaved it right off the foundations, completely gone. And then I got pictures about a year or so later from my mother, from her friend Kitty. A new house is there. It wasn't a renovated old house. It was a new house, and it looked kind of similar, but it was like much more amazing and bigger and just everything. Like, wow, look at that. So anyway, we're undergoing not a renovation, we're undergoing a whole new thing happening here. And so if we're feeling collapse, maybe go with that, take it a little bit deeper, asking from your heart, asking, what am I telling myself? What's trying to be told to me? What's trying to be orchestrated through me at this amazing transitional time in the human species journey and in my personal journey? Ask and you shall receive. And that's so true, especially when you're dealing with your heart. Ask and you shall receive. You know, in the Vedic tradition, in the yogic literatures, the Ishvara, it's the Godhead in the heart, the infinite Godhead in the heart of the yogis. And send questions into your heart and then listen. Let go of trying to figure it out and listen. What am I telling myself? What are we telling? These are difficult times anyway. I'm not trying to take away from the overt realities that might bring about some kind of outward collapsing, right? But power on, you know, continue, keep the faith, as they say, because this is not the end. This is not the end. And each of us can be an agent, and we can each have agency in the birthing process. You know, Mr. Fuller, who was the great innovator, he created the geodesic dome. He's the guy who coined the expression spaceship Earth. And he, on his epitaph, right, of everything that he did and all of the incredible ideas that he worked with, he wrote some beautiful books, Critical Path. He used this weird little expression. I mean, what the hell is that? It was called the trim tab, and somehow he identified as a trim tab. And you're like, I think of like a TikToker or something. I think of, but a trim tab, beautiful little metaphor. All of us. Trim tab is a little rudder on a ship's rudder. They have giant ship's rudders, you know, like so you know, these ships they're making is huge. the kind of energy and hydraulics that are required to turn one of those, but they don't, that's not the way it works. The little rudder on the rudder, and that little rudder creates a vacuum, and it's sort of, the big rudder is sucked into one direction or another direction. So it's not a giant impact causation, more hydraulics, more, those steering wheels from the old sailing ships, giant wheels with those, all those little handles, and not, two guys on those steering wheels pulling those things in storms. It's not that at all. So we're small. We can say small, but we are significant. We matter. And we are like a little trim tab on the giant rudder of human society. Each one of us, we matter. Everything that we do, how we vibrate matters. And so may we all be trimming tabs. They have them on airplanes too, like big rudders, and everything, big ship comes around. I hope that helps a bit.
Yes, thank you. And we hope that helps you, Bridget. Hang in there and navigate with love. So we have more questions coming in, and this, we'll just go right into it. I know we've got some talking points to get to, but this support of our community is really important now, because we are feeling, it's like we can get knocked off our kilter. We can get knocked off our kilter pretty easily, and just look around and say, whoa, it's weird energy today. But if the goal is to stay in the heart in the face of everything, what do you do to raise your vibration? When we are in the heart, that literally, the compassion, the forgiveness, the caring of others helps. That actually does change our DNA and bring more DNA on. So that's the importance of staying in the heart, being in the heart, creating from the heart. What do you do when you get knocked off kilter, or do you get knocked off kilter?
I never get knocked off kilter. No. Human condition, right? I think we all get knocked off kilter, and in times. And look, you can change or evolve your identity. That's one. So the three that I like, right? These are not the only ones. These are the three that I really like. Become a visionary, right? Have visions that implies activating the imagination. Become a possibilian, right? I believe in possibilities, and I maybe brought that up before, but become a possibilian. Like, I believe in possibilities. I live through possibilities. Is it possible? If it were, what would it be like, and how would it feel? Ooh, there's that if question again. I believe in possibilities, and become also an imaginarian. Like, I live through the imagination, not only, but significantly so. So 3 identities: visionary, imaginarian, possibilian, right? And letting go is a huge thing. Letting go of what we hear in the narratives out there that are being fed to us, right? I would say be very careful about watching mainstream media news. I would just say, I'm not sure. Assess everything by how do you end up feeling, right? And know that there's other frameworks, So here are some of them. I've already mentioned one. It's a birthing. We're in the middle of an immense, unprecedented birthing process. Never before has there anything like what's going on right now, right? A huge birthing processes, and in birthing, already touched on this, bloody, painful, it's intense, has a life or death quality about it. Birthing. Another B word, bees, as in honeybees. And bees are pollinating flowers. They're not the only thing, but that's a huge element of their presence in human experience. Pollinators. And when you pollinate flowers, what happens? The flower fructifies and it turns into a fruit. And there is a fruiting going on right now. Okay. Butterflies. That's another one. We are like butterflies. And it has been not only individually, but as a society. What does a caterpillar do? Consume, 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 eating. Good God, the whole tree, all the leaves have been stripped off that tree or whatever, caterpillars. But then the caterpillar goes into a cocoon or chrysalis and comes out fully transmuted into this marvelous nectar drinking, brilliant, beautiful thing. Hey, Loren, are you in Costa Rica right now?
Yes.
Have you seen those morpho butterflies there?
Yes, they're so beautiful.
They're so
One
beautiful.
side is dark. They're just, one side is dark and the other side is this brilliant blue. Yes.
Electric blue. When I visited there, I was like, look at these things. And they're so big that they're not fluttery. They're like, yeah. So butterflies. And, there is a thing in the caterpillar called imaginal cells, right? I didn't make this up. This is a scientific expression, imaginal cells. And it's these cells, when it goes into the chrysalis or the cocoon, to transmute, to transform, the whole interior breaks down into this sort of biochemical soup. And these imaginal cells are activated and they rebuild through all of this biological material, they rebuild the butterfly. So it's an interesting metaphor, and it's not for nothing that this just happens to be, in our collective, the imaginal cells. Another B word is, there's butterflies, they're butter. And I mentioned this earlier also, making ghee out of butter. And we need to see what's going on. And right now we are all being shown, more or less, there will be more. We will see more and more and more what has been happening. When I have looked at the news, especially say in the last, 20 years, look at, God, how are they letting that happen to the Amazon, or the oceans or the whatever? It just seems like there's almost this malevolent force that's just destroying everything. For what? For some kind of greed or anyway. Everything's floating up to the surface and it's all becoming conscious. Carl Jung made that beautiful statement. Enlightenment is not attained by imagining beings of light, but rather by making the darkness conscious. Because ultimately we are, our constitutional nature is enlightened. That's what we are, but heart gets covered. So butter, sugar. When you have a highly saturated sugar solution, just like, can't get any more sugar in this. It's just fully saturated. It's like a liquid. But apparently, you take a few more grains and drop them in, the whole thing crystallizes. The whole thing crystallizes. So my conjecture is that those of us on this call, and many, many others, there are millions of us, maybe not billions, but there are millions of us, that we are those extra grains that are getting dropped into the super. Everything's ready to turn, dropping in, crystallizing, right? That trim tab idea. I'm encouraging everyone here to adopt a new identity, really, more than we're powerful. We have been, maybe we bought into that we're not very powerful and we don't matter, but actually we do as consciousness. There's a beautiful idea that has came out in 1942 with this Italian mathematician, Luigi Frantoppi, and whether I'm saying it correctly or not, but he came up with this idea of syntropy. There's entropy, back to high school science, entropy and syntropy. Now, what is that? They kind of, the yin and the yang, they kind of go together. They're complementary. But syntropy is change that comes out of the future. And this was Teilhard de Chardin. He had this omega point. And I've just recently heard Donald Hoffman, who's a neuroscientist. He's one of my favorite scientists because he's not into scientism. He's just willing to believe, I could be wrong, right? This is the evidence so far. But he has just recently come out with a statement that it looks like Teilhard de Chardin with his omega point was really onto something. So there's something coming out of the future. And it's really, the big thing that's coming out of the future is based in love. Based in love. And it's like this immense. Did anyone, probably many of us have seen the Beirut explosion that happened a couple of years ago, which is a horrific. They had this nitrate or something stored in a huge warehouse facility down near the sea. Thing exploded and this shockwave went out. Just bang, everything just like that. There's a shockwave of love coming, and how do I know? That's what I'm intuiting, but I'm not alone. There are many people are intuiting this, and you're hearing it from these incredible metaphysical teachers. Robert Monroe, who wrote these books based on his astral travels, which were just amazing. He wrote 3 Journeys Out of the Body. That was as a standard, get out of the body and do interesting little things. But then he went further, deeper, and into alternate dimensions of reality. And he came back once, back to the earth plane. There was a whole bunch of beings. He said, oh, the whole planet was enveloped by these other beings from either other planetary systems in our galaxy or other dimensional circumstances. And when asked, what's going on here? I said, we're waiting to see this thing. What is this thing? What things? There's something about to happen to this planet that is of universal significance, not just like the solar system, the sun and our sun, our little local. Something of immense significance is about to happen. So that's all of these things will raise your resonance, right? And then using that if question, which I can't get enough of it, but if we're in a birth, if we were in a birthing process right now, and there's something that's coming behind that, which is like the miracle of a baby being born. And those of you who've seen, I've seen a number of births occur, and you just kind of reel back and wonder at the awe of like, oh my God, another human being is like coming up. Something wonderful is about to happen. I remember the 2001 Space Odyssey. Still considered one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made. And what's happening, and it was that thing. Keir Delore played that part, and he said, something wonderful, right? So I encourage all of you to hold on to your seats, because Kansas literally is going bye-bye. So there are a number of ways of raising your resonance, but using that if question, which activates the imagination. And if that happened, how would it feel? Bingo. That's it. If we were in a birthing process and a miraculous birth of a new world occurred where everyone was in a state of shock and wonder, and they're almost stunned at it's so different. It's not remaking the old world. It's not renovation. New. How would that feel? Go into your body, feel into your heart. If millions of people were just waking up more and more, and the whole basis of our materialistic civilization was unraveled, and a whole new foundation became established, and a whole new structure occurred on that, which was based on love, compassion, understanding, empathy, forgiveness, joy, wonder, and awe. How would that feel? Okay. There's things, I can see little dialogue boxes coming up at the bottom.
Well, I do love that. And that is the 3 words, become a visionary, become a possibillion, possibillionaire. I like that word. And imaginarian. And this is why it's so important to always keep our vision, our eye on the prize. regardless of the polarity. I am sometimes stunned by the polarity that's going on, even among the spiritual community.
Yeah.
But what continues to give me hope is the end result that everyone can agree on, whether it's this side, that side, upside down, left, right, underneath, below, whatever, is that I truly sense that everyone wants joy, love, peace, happiness,
Yeah.
balance, harmony. And so if we can rise above the polarity and see that ultimate imaginarian viewpoint, possibilian viewpoint, then that really is beautiful. And I love the words of encouragement that, like a few more drops of sugar, a few more drops of love will 100 monkey affect it and crystallize into something new. And I think that's what we're seeing. But we have to stay out of judgment. And again, not to judge whatever we see. For me, as a former journalist, watching the news is a bit jarring because I was in it and I left it long before 9/11. But when 9/11 came around, I was like, I'm glad I'm no longer in that media, because suddenly reporters became part of the story. Suddenly reporters were saying, I feel this way. My family was affected this way. And as a trained journalist, we were trained never to put yourself in the story. So it's almost like the pendulum has been swinging back towards more of the yellow journalism. And we can each discern, as more people wake up, we can discern by reading the news. So I'll peek at the news, I admit. I read the news, but because then that fuels me for my mission here on Earth. And I can see when there's bias in a headline. Headlines are made by editors, not the individual reporter. So sometimes headlines are not even right. But now I'm even seeing commentary, opinions within a news story that says that judges someone's actions. And it's like, wow. So I think people are becoming more adept at recognizing where there's bias, what doesn't feel right. You said it doesn't feel right. And so, wow. The end result of this is, as everything is being revealed for what it is, there again, I think we've talked about this before, there's a pressure cooker point where it's a surrender to love. Would you think that people are going to just surrender to love? Like there's that if question. If this gets, what if that happened? What if we just surrender to love? Or if we look at our problems as what is the best benefit for me? How can this best benefit me, looking at that problem? Yeah. And that perspective really does take some of the pressure off. Yeah. So I don't know why I share that, except that there is a shockwave of love coming. We've been waiting for this, but I think we're seeing it as more people come into the feeling that doesn't make me feel good, then they're going to turn to the love that's in their heart and express that.
Yeah, beautiful. Yep. As Jean Houston said, these are the times we are the people. We are the people. And the Native Americans said, we're the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And this is not to offend any Christians, but we are individually, we are each the second coming, right? And I believe, from what I've read of the teachings of Jesus, sort of like, you are to do what I'm doing, right? To be what I'm being. And so that we are all called. And my own view is that I think many of us, probably most of us on this call, are, came specifically to be right now, right here in these times, to live through these times, And my view, Loren, is that there will be a time in the future where we look back on these times. Oh, I remember, the whole thing. Okay. And from that new world, that new reality, looking back on these times and just being, whoa, the whole thing has been amazing. The profundity and weirdness and just like unprecedented differences and changes are occurring. So yes, mind your resonance, and stay in touch with your body and see what everything makes you feel. And then have the overview, which is why I've been so drawn in my own life to this principle of the overview effect. Is like, you got the little picture back here. It's my little background, which is get above the earth, you look down, and then everything, there's a kind of a unifying big paradigm shift. All the astronauts and the astronauts, doctors, one of the 25 years, he said, some of them think that nothing happened. But I can tell you right now, in terms of their physiology and all the indications, every one of them that went up has been changed. But many of them, I would say predominantly, most of them are vocal about it, that, man, you see this, you see the whole planet in one go, and or just get above it, and it changes you. And so part of that thing, I guess what you're talking about, Loren, is that, to stay grounded, stay in your heart, drop judgments, see what ways how can I understand this in a way that raises my resonance? And not to be deluded, but just, well, this is all part of the process. And there is going to be this, what do they call it, silo business, or, divisiveness. Actually, what do you guys want? We both want the same thing, really.
Yes.
We're seeking love. We're seeking connection. We're seeking meaning and purpose, right? So, what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. And I just, my desire is this, at least another 20 years out of this situation, to get through this. I don't believe it's going to take 20 years. I mean, there will be a kind of a continual thing, but I believe the next, 2 or 3 years especially are going to be something else really amazing. And just glad I'm here.
I know we're all here. We all raised our hands really high to be here. And we said, I said, you're kidding me. All we have to do is put love in our heart. All we have to do is be love. We can do that. Yes, that's a no-brainer. And so those words should be a reminder for all of us and give us comfort. And right now I'm hearing that Shannon Deshay song, put a little love in your heart.
Yeah.
The world will be a better place for you, for me. Just wait and see. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to sing it.
You're getting close.
Singing it. This would be a great time for that video that we're going to share. Tell us about this video, because we've done this in a webinar with you, and there was so much tears. You actually read a poem. We've got a little bit different take of that video, but tell us about this video that we're going to play right now.
Okay, well, it's about 3.5 minutes long. It's spoken by one of the French astronauts in English. He has the beautiful French accent, and Jean-Francois Clairvoy, that was his name. And I believe it was on Earth Day in 2020 that he did this. And the images themselves are compiled by our friends and colleagues over in France, Jean-Pierre Go and company, put it all together. So what you'll see is the Earth from space. The images are taken from the L1 Lagrange point, which is a gravitationally neutral point about 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. So looking back at Earth, so the camera and the satellite is facing the Earth, and you'll see the Earth rotating. So it's beautiful imagery, and he's been there, so he's speaking from his own experience, which is very beautiful. And as you watch these images, just allow yourself kind of to drop into, my conjecture is that we all love the earth so much. We really do, but we're not always in touch with it because we're distracted by the pressures of life. Got to pay this bill, kids need clothes, whatever, all kinds of stuff going on. So have a look at this. It's just 3.5 minutes long. Let yourself drop in, be centered in your heart. Maybe put your hand on your heart as you're watching, and feel the gratitude and the wonder, the awe and wonder of, like, this is our situation. We are on a planet orbiting a star in a universe, in a galaxy of 200 to 400 billion stars, in a universe which now is considered to be 1 to 2 trillion galaxies, which is fully inconceivable. It's freaky to actually think about it too much. And it's just amazing. And yet we are fully connected and integrated with all that. We're not disconnected. Okay, so that's a little intro, and roll it.
When you see Earth from space for the first time, you literally fall in love with your home planet. The emotion is intense in front of the combination of beauty, fragility of life, and power of the geological and meteorological elements. The field of view extends to thousands of kilometers around, and as we fly fast at 28,000 kilometers per hour, the landscape below varies very quickly, showing a striking diversity. You are seized by the dramatic contrast between this big, bright, colorful ball illuminated by the sun and the deep black background of the cosmos. Indeed, astronauts can't discern any stars in the sky when the sun or the earth shines through the spaceship windows. You feel the need to protect Earth because the atmosphere appears so thin on the horizon that you realize how much all life on Earth depends on this so tiny layer of gas maintained by such a fragile balance with the ocean. But after a few orbits, you see volcanoes, big mountains, hurricanes, huge tidal waves, glaciers, gigantic icebergs, and you realize that Earth lives its own life, regardless of human activities. You become respectful. Earth is a very strong and powerful tectonic and climatic object, which may seem a paradox since, at the same time, it shows fragility of life. If you tend first to look at details of places where you've been living, you quickly enjoy watching our planet as a whole. It is isolated, meaning nothing else around exists which can come and help us. It is unique since no other planet resembles Earth by far. It is finite because from space you see its limited dimensions. And again, you are so impressed by the living beauty of the whole show that you feel happy and can't prevent emotional tears forming in your eyes. As you understand the rarity of this view lived by only few of us, you decide your duty is to share the experience and to make understand that all humans are members of the same crew of this single natural spaceship traveling alone in this freezing, black, infinite emptiness of the universe. Indeed, we should manage Earth as a spaceship, understanding how it works and living in harmony with its resources like we do with our own spaceship in order to never be in lack. Earth, one home, one crew, one mission. Let all future generations live long and prosper.
Wow.
Mm.
Oh, let's look at that again. The earth doesn't need to be saved. Woo, she just needs to be loved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forgive me for the tears, but woo.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to play. I'm going to turn the volume off of this, but we're going to continue to show this beautiful image of Earth.
Mm. Yes.
And I'll repeat, one home, one crew, one mission.
Yeah.
The earth doesn't need saving. She just needs love.
Yeah. And human beings,
That's our love that we're bringing.
we are so capable of love. It's one of the wonders of the human condition and the human physiology. We can be so loving. I was seeing a program on, it was an anthropology connected program, and talking about chimpanzees, talking about, well, they make wonderful parents, but there's a real kind of a broad spectrum of the behavior. That there's another species that has an even broader spectrum of behavior, from the demoniac to the divine. And that's, what species is that? And that's the human species. But let us focus on our capacity to love, our capacity to be loving, to be compassionate, to be understanding, and to acknowledge the wonders of our presence on this incredible planet. You know, these images that we're looking at right now, if 100 years ago, early part of the 20th century, if they could have seen something like this, we mustn't take these things for granted, this kind of imagery. And although astronaut Clairvoy, he's saying, we astronauts, we dedicate ourselves to, we've seen this, but we've seen it too. We've seen it maybe, in a video format, and it's not exactly the same, of course, but let us more and more dedicate ourselves to the more than the sustenance, but to the prosperity and to the greater, not just surviving or sustainability, but thriving. We're not just treading water with the planet, but where we are thriving and where we are building greater abundance of life, greater life support, greater consciousness. A planet of love. It's full. If you can believe it, if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. And so yeah, we're fortunate to have these images. The outcome of science and technology endeavor, amazing accomplishments. So we're all down there.
There's a question, how do we raise our vibration? How do we elevate our DNA? Looking at images like this raises our vibration.
Yeah.
I hope that when we look at images like this, we can see the importance of our love and the power that love has to overcome anything that we're experiencing in our lives. I know that there's some heavy, intense stuff that can be experienced, but this is like zooming out to a bigger picture.
Totally.
Yeah. So we hope that this helps. And yes, watching these shows, Bridget, she says, watching these shows and joining in with other raises the love. This is my mission. And to be perfectly honest, it is what keeps me going, especially these last few years. Just when we think, oh goodness, what in the heck is happening? It's shows like this that keep me going. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to everyone who is a part of it, and for everyone who is right there with us, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
Well, spirits. Yes.
Spirits. And so there you go. All right. What a beautiful, what a beautiful video. Just remember that video, everyone, and remember Earth. Remember Earth. I think when we do, solutions will come forward from that.
There are many videos on our website, Overview Institute of Australia. .org, overviewinstituteaustralia.org. And so we've got a lot of those kind of videos, and you hear it directly from numerous astronauts. So when they're talking, it's not just their head, but there's so much heart, and they share this thing, and you just see, yeah. So we've enabled ourselves to have this kind of perspective, this overview perspective, and that's symbolic, really, of our own personal lives as well. An overview perspective on other people, because not everyone's behavior is very good.
No, we're seeing some teenagers or adolescents being very misbehaved at this moment on planet.
Yeah. That's part of another story, which is also a higher frequency story, is that we're moving out of our adolescence. You know, some of you, I almost went to Woodstock. I think I've shared this before. I was in a surfing van. We were going surfing up from South Florida up the east coast of the US. And we were in New York City, you know, these I was like 16 or whatever. And there's posters all over the city, Woodstock, you know, with the guitar, you know, with a little white dove. And it's like, Woodstock, far out. Hey, we could go to that if we want. And we decided not to. But the point I'm making really is many of us have seen the images of after Woodstock, the Yazgar, the farmer, Mr. Yazgar's farm. And it's like a shithole. It was terrible. Plastic, and I mean, they just left. It was just like a garbage dump, a tip. It was just right. That's the adolescent. That's not. So when we're moving out of that into greater self-responsibility, and what is responsibility? It's not a blaming thing, but it's our capacity, our ability, and our willingness to respond, right? And so there were people that were picking up after it, but a lot of people just left stuff, and the whole thing, you can just type it in under images and Woodstock, after Woodstock finished, and it's like, whoo, man, that would be a real chore to pick up all that garbage. It was just, anyway, we're coming, a new story. We're moving out of adolescence. We're maturing into young adulthood, where we embrace our capacity to respond, responsibility. I want to be responsible. That's freedom.
And this is where integrity comes into play. I think each of us knows in our hearts the right thing to do. Everyone, unless there's some people who are just not on that path yet, still being adolescents. We all mature at different times. So integrity and yeah, all right, moving forward in that way with integrity, with responsibility for how we feel, and doing the cleanup work within our own physical being, within our genes, within our ancestry.
The legacy that we bring forward to our physical bodies. And like, my ancestry, there were some dark moments in my ancestry, because we owned a lot of the Whitehurst owned a lot of land in Virginia. And this goes right back, you know, before the American Revolution. So back in those days in Virginia, there would have been, I don't have proof, but it would have been slavery, which is just abominable, horrific, but pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so there's so what can we do to free ourselves, to let all of that pain and all of that horror go, and to become more and more loving? But I love your summaries, Loren. You just do such a great job. And
well, I'm going to call on Melissa. Melissa, you can unmute yourself and share your voice. I would like to ask you about your experience. Melissa says, I just had the most sacred experience. It may have been an experience to show me how powerful my imagination is. It has left me in pure awe and wonder, stunned. So Melissa, if you're still with us and able to unmute, please unmute, because what was that experience? What happened? And so we'll just have to, there you are. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Lauren. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, part of me is like kind of just trying to hold that experience in my heart. And I don't know that this will resonate with anyone, but I've been in this struggling space. And before coming on, listening to the show, and I was trying to deal with grief. I'm experiencing a lot of grief, and I had just lost my dog, and we were very like soulmates, literally. And that was like the last being in my life, family, friend, everything. So that was it. And I, yesterday I was really struggling with this feeling about, I'd go into the grief and I'd cry, and then I'd go, I can't do this. And I would hold my heart, and I would, work through it. Like, I have to hold my vibration high. I can't do this. I can't allow myself to go into this. And then I went into the struggle of, that's not fair. I need to feel this grief, because this grief is, to me, represents the depth of the love that I felt for these beings. And then, so there was just a lot, a lot I've been dealing with and trying to figure out how to hold this vibe during this. And grief has been that's been my thing on this earth since I was a little girl. I won't go into details, but it's just, so I've been right with everyone in my life that has crossed. And some of those moments were extremely beautiful. In fact, I would think all of them, even when my father had crossed, and I was right with him, and he had a stroke, and he was unable to move any part of his body. He had been like unconscious for some time. And right when he crossed, a big smile came across his face. That I would love to share, because I just feel I may have a message around grief and knowing the truth about the other side. So here's what happened. I was listening to your program here, and all of a sudden I got inspired that I wanted to write. Well, I needed to go, I'm outdoors, and so I needed to go through this gate around to the front to go get my notebook. I opened the gate, and there was this huge tom turkey. And I just got to tell you my awe. Okay, first of all, I saw that turkey, and it was so big and so beautiful and so real. And he just stood there looking at me, and I said, "Hi, Ben." So Ben is my son who crossed over, but I knew, I could feel in every fiber of my being, that was him, to let me know that all of these questions and feelings and the dark nights and everything that I've been going through, processing for so long, it was like, not only is he letting me know he's here, but he's letting me know everything is okay. It's going to be all right. And all of us that are on this journey that question, when we see all this darkness around us, it appears to be happening in the world. The light is always here. It's always here. The light is here even when we perceive the darkness. That turkey, like where some people live, there might be turkeys, right? I've been in this space for, I don't know, 40 years. There has never, ever, ever been a turkey around here. And my son was so connected to turkeys. And he used to make turkey sounds, and they sounded just like turkeys. And on his vision quest, like turkeys came. I mean, there was like all this stuff connected to a turkey. There wasn't, like, when I saw that turkey, there was no doubt in my mind that was my son. And the thing of it is, I was in such awe. The turkey walked away, like around the corner of a house, right? And I followed it, and it wasn't there. The moment it turned, it was gone. There was no sign of a turkey. And I walked the whole, like this whole neighborhood, all the way where it could be, in and out of, there was no turkey. There was no
Hair
turkey.
prickles. Hair prickles.
Wow, I know, chills.
And it was like when you were talking about the three things, and I was listening intently. And for me, it was like, that's it. Imagination. our imagination is so powerful. I mean, yes, I believe that he can create from that side, but also I have to be open. My heart has to be open to receive and perceive the beautiful gift that he left. And I just really, it was like, yes, my imagination can create exactly what I need to get through any of the darkness that I perceive anywhere at any time.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow, Melissa.
Wow.
Ah,
Girl, you've done it. You've done it.
well, thank you, because this call was the inspiration. And I love listening. I mean, Richard, I love you. I love listening to you. It was just like, yes, yes, yes. And like, I've just been totally loving on earth since I was a little tiny baby girl. So like, I'm with you with all of this. And I'm so grateful that you're sharing this and the beauty and how can we connect, right? Reconnect. That's what it's really about. Remembering, reconnecting the earth. It's all its support and beauty and why we're here on this mission. It's incredible.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Melissa, you are an inspiration to, you know, move through the grief, but yet still love so much.
I know. It's like it was a moment. Here's what I want to say too. This is so powerful because I truly experienced the grief and joy were one in the same moment. In that moment, they were one. There was no separation, right? Like where you feel like either you're in the grief or you're in the joy. In that moment, it was one. They were one. It was so incredible.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And you know, we're all called in our own way to bring our gifts, you know, and all of your grief has certainly not been for nothing. And the world, for many of us in the human condition, we are carrying a lot of grief. We have lost a lot, just the process of growing up. And we lose that magic. It was Wordsworth again. Whither hath fled the visionary gleam? Where is it now, the glory and the dream? It's like fades into the light of common day. It's like, so that's beautiful. And all of us are, you know, carrying the light into the world, whether we're out actively talking about this stuff or just carrying it through our resonance. You know, little dark room, light a little candle, and darkness is dispelled. And so we're all in this together. So thank you so much for sharing that, Melissa. And I really, yeah.
Thank you.
Aw, bless you. You're so welcome. And I'm happy to share it because I just feel the love is so grand right now and it's beautiful. And it'll always be there. It's never left me. The love never left. You know, it got overshadowed at times by the grief, but it's never been gone. It's so beautiful. And that turkey, that was one thing that my son anchored on this earth is what you said, the magic. Like as a young adult, I mean, he never lost his childlike mannerisms and magic, and he did all of that in the world with everyone that he touched. And sometimes he would irritate people, right? Like, what is this man doing, acting like this? He loved it, and he never worried about what people thought about him. It was such a beautiful, it was so beautiful to witness, and that turkey just brought that all back. And then you with the word magic. Thank you. So beautiful. So beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, we have our wounded inner child, and right, but there's also
Absolutely.
the magical inner child. The magical inner child. The wounded inner child, healing can occur, and we can integrate those lost parts of ourselves. But there's also the magical inner child, and yeah, we can be fully freed up and not care really what other people think about us, you know, not be hurtful in any way, but just,
No,
you know, and
but
that
free
is
to express, right? That
absolutely
freedom to express
And you know, the
that
natural
joy.
yeah, spontaneity of a child, how children in their magic and they're just in the present moment. And yeah, so
Yes.
I'm going to remember that story and how I heard you share it, Melissa. Going through that gate and seeing that turkey and your whole son's connection to turkeys. I got it, and I'll take that to the so-called grave. That's beautiful. I really, really thank you for sharing that.
Oh, touch my heart. I'm so glad that I shared it. Thank you, Lauren, because I was like thinking, oh, you need to just hold this in your heart, this sacred moment. This is so, but the fact that sharing it has reached and touched someone else, that does me more good than anything.
Yeah.
Bless you so.
Oh, Lori Rayon with Master Cat Puda says, Master Cat Puda, who channels Seth, says, sharing your love is what love is all about. Sharing is really loving. So thank you for sharing, Melissa, because, I really believe that you helped some of these others who have questions today, and you don't know it, but you touched hearts, and you are an inspiration for love. It's honorable and commendable. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, take that totally into my blessed heart. Thank you, thank you. Oh, what a sacred call. Thank you, everyone. Bless you all.
Check
Oh,
out the chat comments on the Zoom, because she's got a message for you. Help Shirley as well.
okay.
And Melissa, write this down. Journal this. And put a date on it. Journal it. More will be revealed, I'm certain.
Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you for that. That's big.
All right.
And as we frame this experience up, everyone can feel they're lifted, higher resonance, and carry that resonance out into the world. And it's people all around the world.
Oh,
We are called to bring that light and that higher frequency into the world. And if anyone's saying, I need a greater meaning in my life and deeper purpose or something, it might just be this very thing of acting as a catalyst for the birthing of the new world. Oh yeah. So thank you very much. As Loren was inviting you on, Melissa, I was sort of like, not so sure if Melissa might be a little bit apprehensive about. Some people don't like speaking publicly or whatever, but I'd really appreciate your little bit of courage that came in there to do that. If that was, it's a vulnerable sharing from your heart, and it has impact. And this call, people will hear this for a long time. And so thank you so much. And everyone you set an example for all of us to be courageous and step forward boldly and give from your heart and make it a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And the spirit of the wind was with you as we muted you, because we could hear the wind. So at any time you can unmute and say anything further, but thank you. Thanks for your sharing. Okay, at this time, I would like to have Richard talk about ways that each of us can work with him. Richard has been on New Earth One Network doing webinars, and those are recorded, and they're so special. They're soft, delicate, but full of compassion and wide heart opening. So there's the special offer for this. I'm going to put the link in our Zoom panel. I already put it on our YouTube channel. Plus, you can find it on the webpage of this show or in the description box of wherever you're watching or listening to this program. But Richard, this special offer includes the recorded webinars that we did. Again, they're so special. They're pristine, I'd like to say. And they're experiences that you can sit down with and just cuddle up on a couch and have your world expanded in that way. But you also offer personal sessions. So tell us about this opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, well, it's I love working with people and being in. It's an honor to be involved in people's life process where they're moving forward, evolving, unfolding, becoming more of who they really are, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, we have I'm offering a 30 to 40 minute Zoom call to kind of work with any of the things that have been touched on in this talk and the other two programs and webinars that we did, one regarding opening the spiritual heart and the other having to do with synchronicities. And these are both, those two are both significant elements in what I perceive to be the birthing of a new world, and this part of living a dynamic spiritual life as a human on this planet right now. So yeah, so we can do work on either how to enhance synchronicities in one's life, how to processes of becoming more heart-centered, more heart-focused, and what you can do with it, and then anything that we've touched on. I'm just happy to work with anyone, pretty much in any capacity, to help them become more of who they already are.
Beautiful. And I do want to say that what a beautiful investment this is. It's very affordable. Time with Richard at a very affordable rate. And if someone needs assistance there is a two-payment plan, two-payment option, because we want this to be easy for everyone to access this. And the price itself is so incredible that it helps people, and those people who need this help will absolutely know it. And so we hope that you check this out and work with Richard. Every time we leave our space from Richard, we are elevated, as we are feeling right now. And you're from down under, you're from underneath the planet. That's why we're being elevated. Okay.
Living in the underworld, and you know, that's where in the hero's journey, you know, separation, initiation, and return. And so I moved to Australia back in 1990, and it's, you know, that's how it's referred in the general idiom of our civilization. Australia's the land down under, and so the underworld is where the hero's journey, the hero, the heroine, they eventually end up in the underworld. And then in the underworld, what do? They retrieve the golden fleece, they retrieve the gift, the boon, or whatever, and they take that out into a life-enhancing return. So right now, in my present process, I believe I'm moving into the return, and I'm sort of coming out of the underworld. Carl Jung, one of the greatest geniuses of the 20th century, in my opinion, he had about a 5-year period when he broke from Freud. He was a sort of student and the protege of Freud. Freud was grooming him to be his replacement when he passed away. He was an older man. And Jung couldn't fully embrace everything that Freud was teaching. He said, there's more. It's not just the whole basis of sexuality, but it's much more. Anyway, he descended. He had a crash. Some would call it a psychotic break, but for him, he went down deep into the unconscious. And 5 years he was there doing all the gyrations of the being smashed and impacted by the self, the great self, the so-called number 2 personality for him. And then he later said, we came out of it, he said, everything of my life from here on out, all the way to his death in 1961, was based on those 5 years of being in the underworld. Right? So yeah, that's, so some of you who are having the challenges right now, it's another way of framing it up. I'm in the underworld. I'm in that initiation phase of my life. I'm getting initiated in the deeper understanding, and there are gifts. There are things to be acquired, taken on board, and taken out of the underworld to make my life-enhancing return, right? So we're going to return with the gifts. What are the gifts? What are the gifts for me? What are the gifts for you, Melissa, and for all, Lorraine, all of us? What are the gifts as we go down into that pain, into that darkness, into the strife and the loss and the sadness and all of that stuff? These are our sacred wounds. What do we get when we go down there? And what can we bring back to bestow to benedictions upon the world to make it a better world? So it's part of the hero's journey. Life will be meaningful as we frame it up in these various ways that we've been talking about. So yeah, it's what a trip, man. I love it. I'm in love with life.
Love prevails.
Mm.
Love prevails. All right, everyone. Thank you. Well, as we say goodbye, I want to actually show one slide that we've got here. This is 7 steps into luminous futures.
Mm.
Here this is. All right. 7 steps into luminous futures. And Richard, I'll let you read this.
Okay. Step 1. I might put my glasses on for this. We honor our feeling and emotional states to gain meaningful orientations and directions, and to deepen our capacity to respond, our responsibility. So this really is the return of the goddess. You know, not that she went anywhere, but this is a where that goddess, the divine feminine energy, we're called to embrace and to be with that and to act through it. So feel, right? So these are all verbs. Access. So residing in our hearts, we progress from what is to what if, right? What is to what if, to activate the immense powers of our life-enhancing imaginations. Considered by some, and certainly by myself, imagination is our greatest gift. And everything, it's put down in our culture in so many ways. Oh, that's just your imagination. But the fact is that out of the imagination, I mean, we live in a tiny house on wheels, but this whole thing came out of the imagination. This computer I'm on came out of the imagination. In fact, there's not a whole lot that didn't come out of the imagination as far as human creations are concerned. Modulate, right? Through the imagination, right? And that imagination is activated beautifully through those if kinds of questions, right? Through the imagination, we consciously modulate our emotional states to raise our personal resonance to higher vibrational identities. Here they are, possibilian and imaginarian. Now, I didn't make those words up. Well, imaginarian, I might have had something to do with that, but possibilian, that came through through a neuroscientist, Eagleman. Anyway, to begin to be the change we wish to see in the world. So that's the famous quote by Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world. So it's a being thing. Again, that's feminine. That's the divine feminine principle. An embracing of, yeah, there will be doing, but part of the doing is in our being. Imagine, number 4, we further extend our imaginations. We take them further to envision. So here's the visionary stuff. Luminous planetary futures from a position of high resonance by deeper use of if and feelings. Right? Building that vision, 5 sensory channels, right? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting and smelling even. Giving it full visionary experience, presence. Resonate. So I had the 3 B's, but there's actually, that was birthing bees and butterflies. That's what that means. We further evolve a personal transition story and live life through that higher resonance narrative. And see, these are those sort of 5 elements of that. You can conceive it, perceive it through the visioning, feeling it in our body, right? Believing it. So that's empowering it through emotions to like, how does that feel, and what state of emotions are vibratory frequencies, moving into love, moving into joy, moving into oneness and unity, and achieve, conceive to achieve, conceive, perceive, feel, believe, achieve. Commit. We consciously commit to luminous futures from that higher resonance. And that's a powerful energy. Make a commitment. And I encourage us all, make the commitment, recommit, consciously commit with some regularity, and co-create. We enter synergistic co-creation from higher resonance identities and narratives with kindred spirits, wherein the key is we. And that's a statement from astronaut Ron Garan. Went into space, looked back, he said, it's so beautiful, but there's so many challenges down there on the surface of the world. And it just occurred to him, the key is we. We are coming together as kindred spirits. And what comes out of this kind of kindred spiritness is a synergistic outcome, synergy, boom, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Something magical comes out of our kindred spirit collective. And so seek out your kindred spirit tribe, not to be separate, but just to have that affinity for, yeah, we're vibrating on the same frequency here. And then let the synergy of our togetherness, let that synergy magically manifest something more, right? Something more. So yeah, these there's a lot to each one of these. In fact, each one of these could be a whole workshop. But this just was part of a process that unfolded for me. These 7 steps into luminous futures, and you can look at those, think about them, wonder about them. And if you do want to do the personal sessions, you might pick one of those. Well, how did that work, or whatever? Just it's a joy to work with other human beings that are in this amazing time. And money's fine, but this is not about the money. This is not about the money. It's just a vehicle of exchange. But this is about love, and it's about gifting, giving and receiving. And receiving is just as important as giving, even though is it more blessed to give than receive? I think they're both equally blessed. And sometimes, as soon as we letting go of the pain in the heart, opening our heart, and let in, can receive the love of others, receive the love from ourselves. So, there.
So beautiful. We feel uplifted, actually. And I really hope that everyone who is joining us feels that same resonance and that vibration. It is important. This is why we say your love matters. It is why you came to the planet. Your love matters. And so may that phrase lift you up whenever you're moving through grief or any challenging times. We all have them. We're all human, but we've got this. So thank you, Richard. As we say goodbye, I just want to give you a few moments for any closing thoughts.
Remember the love. Remember the love, and always work to be understanding. That's, I work as best I can. We are not I'm not seeking perfection, but I do strive for excellence, and remembering the love and always working to be understanding in all of my relations. That's right. I don't do it perfectly, and somebody cuts me off when I'm driving, I enjoy it now, though. If I get irritated, if irritation comes through the system, I just kind of have fun with it. And yeah, so remember the love, always work to be understanding. That's my closing words. Thank you so much, all of you. And Lauren, thank you especially for allowing me to be here and to follow my bliss. That's what it is. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for following your bliss. And we are committed. We are committed to love. We are committed to love. Not only do we remember love, but we are committed to love. All right. Thank you, Richard. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. We love you and we love your light. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.